Hey everybody, my name is Vince Staney, and I am the creator and host of Insanity Unplugged, often featured on public access television in Lane County, Oregon. Also on YouTube, on Facebook, MySpace, and many other social media outlets. Basically, I have a large concern on today's session. This is my second attempt at podcasting outside my show on at community TV. This is going to be involving, as I travel across the country, getting together with various people of interest that I want to interview. Today's subject, I just want to bring up about the housing market. It is my belief that we do have a shortage of inventory in the housing market. That's why prices are so expensive. That's why rents are so high. It's not due to the fact that the majority of landlords are greedy and they do what they can to gouge people. There's all sorts of reasons of what makes a rent what it is. So for instance, if I purchased a house 30 years ago, let's say a three bedroom, two bathroom house, I purchased it years ago, let's say for $100,000, and even if I didn't pay the house off, it's likely that my mortgage would be very low, although today's other expenses are much, much higher, like flood insurance, other types of insurance. For instance, I purchased a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house years ago, and I was paying $900 a month. That included property taxes, that included insurance as well, flood and regular house fire insurance for the house. Okay? Now, within so many years, the mortgage stayed the same as far as the payment, but insurance went up a lot. Flood insurance was costing $6,000 a year. Okay, property taxes went up a hell of a lot. Now here's the thing: property taxes even went up after the bubble crashed, after the real estate bubble, because they still thought that my house was worth more than it was prior to the bubble. So expenses are up. Still, some people can afford to rent out cheaper than other people who purchased recently, or perhaps they purchased at the time of the bubble. So I purchased long before the bubble, but if you purchased right before the bubble crashed, a lot of these people are holding on to properties where the mortgage payments are extraordinarily high because the values were at their peak. So they had a choice of letting the house go and going bankrupt, or basically renting it out. Now a lot of these people, even though rents haven't really gone down, in some cases they've gone up. The fact of the matter is, to stay somewhat competitive and to pay their huge amount of property tax, the huge amount of mortgage, the high interest rates, the flood insurance, and the fire insurance, not to count all the utilities and repairs and so forth. So they basically have to be competitive, even though it's a low vacancy rate. So they get people in, maybe, let's say they make $100, $200. Now some people say, well, you're lucky, you're paying everything off and this is going to be your investment for the future, for when you're retired, and you're getting at least $200. Well, that $200 is income that has to be accounted for to the IRS. Now there is write-offs and so forth, so the IRS does give money back. However, the money they really give back is the money that, that is really yours to begin with. So now we have the issue that they're getting $200 a month. Before I go further, let's look at the house, what that house represented for a person to be able to purchase that house. It usually requires, for a person to purchase a house, requires a lot of hours of work towards saving, effort and work, labor and work and sacrifice to put money in the account to be able to put it a down payment to qualify. So the less money you make, the more of a down payment you have to pay for a house. Specifically, if it's a rental investment, you put even more money down. Banks aren't comfortable with allowing a person to purchase a house with the money down of what they're going to live in. They're occupied. They're not comfortable to do that with a rental because they know that people are more likely to walk away from something they're not living in. So you get a person who's basically years of sacrifice, of not getting into indulgences and so forth, and they're just holding it out. The amount of money they make for their investment is not much more than what you get in a savings account, plus the headaches and legalities and a risk, dealing with tenants and so forth and so on, dealing with repairs that always have to come up. It still sucks a lot of time out of your life to hold on to an investment that's not paying anything. So then real estate starts going up, jobs start coming up, like for instance, employment high after the bubble. I mean, employment rates were high after the bubble, burst. And then within the past couple of years, employment's been going up. In fact, we got more jobs and we got people applying for jobs. It could be argued they're not like living wage jobs, I don't know. But there are jobs out there. After the bubble, I couldn't find anything. But, so, property values have gone up. And they kind of peaked out now. So you got a lot of people in the past couple of years purchasing again, or refinancing and so forth. So the cost of keeping a house has gone up. Some of the people, the cost hasn't gone up, but they're thinking, hey, I have kids to put through college, I got a wife that's disabled, I got aging parents, I got a lot of expenses. Like I was just reading a post from one woman, she's like, talking about her daughter is making $43,000 a year and can't seem to make it because her rents are $1,300. I don't know about her situation. I don't know what she's spending, I don't know what her overhead is, what her monthly payments and responsibilities are. Okay, just like most tenants or people don't know the liabilities or the bills or the overhead that landlords have, a property owner has. Again, you get somebody who's married, a couple kids, they got college to go for, they got braces, they got health insurance they had to pay. Not everybody has a good health insurance or any health insurance, so it's expensive to buy their own. If they're lucky enough to have a job that will help them with that, it's still expensive. So they have insurances. They got to put money aside for the college funds, for the braces, and then they also so many other expenses, right? They're also concerned about this. A lot of people, if they're smart, will look towards purchasing disability insurance, just in case they get disabled and they can't work. They'll look forward to they have to purchase long-term health care, so when they and the spouse gets old, they would have long-term care and so forth. All this is very, very expensive. A lot of people say, well, they can't afford it, that's what the government is for. So far the government hasn't done any of that. And a lot of people aren't comfortable waiting around for the government to do anything. And regardless if if you believe in socialism or not, regardless if you think that the government can afford it or not, a lot of people aren't comfortable to wait. I've been around for 60-some years. I haven't seen it happen. Personally, I think if our government gets involved to do it, we'd become like Venezuela. I just don't think our government is competent enough or ethical enough to operate the way Scandinavian countries are operating now. The stuff that Bernie's saying about the Scandinavian model, quite frankly, he was wrong, because he doesn't quite understand how they're situated now. Scandinavian model had to be thrown by the wayside because it was causing a lot more suffering than it was worth. So they've switched back to free market. They do have social programs. Nobody's homeless over there. Nobody goes without food. Everybody has a shelter. But they do it at a low cost compared to what we would do it for. Anyways, that's just something I wanted to bring up about the housing situation. We need to basically all get together as friends and family and groups and co-ops and purchase housing, take it off the market, and basically once you have a house paid off, you could rent it for any price you want. You could sell it and charge interest rates. You could basically, my opinion is, I'm very strongly towards certain types of capitalism. I'm against corporate cronyism, government cronyism. Those big businesses that buy politicians, that basically get contracts at the VA and sell $30 pillows for $600. I'm against that kind of capitalism. Of course, that kind of capitalism could not happen if we didn't have corrupt politicians or corrupt self-interested agents in different government agencies trying to line their own pockets with some sort of sweetheart deals. Okay, so that said, people have to be aware of what they're renting. I was listening to one guy the other day. He's talking about how his rent was jacked up $400. He lived there for so many years, took care of the property, put in gardens and so forth. And the fact of the matter is, he had a good deal. He has a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a nice section of Springfield, close to where I used to live, near the orchards, decent sized yard, fenced in, really clean, really nice. He was getting a deal. So after years of not increasing the rent, finally they upped it $400. So when you look at the amount of years that they went from here and kept the rent there to where they raised it $400, basically, if you divided all those years into the new rents, which he didn't pay, and he got passed for quite a few years, that's a 5-point-some% increase if you divide it per year. That still does not keep ahead of the rate of inflation. That person who increased that rent to $400 is not keeping up with inflation. But that person is doing what they can to recoup for what has been for them for many years a poor investment. So they're trying to make it into a better investment. That's what people do who have families, who people who want to get ahead, is they, if you're wise, you're going to try to find some sort of investment. Because quite frankly, if you go to a company and you want a company to give you a good health care program and a good retirement plan, that's what they're doing. They're investing. That money doesn't come out of thin air. They're investing in different things that a lot of individuals don't understand to do for themselves or won't do for themselves or whatever. They're investing in the real estate markets. They're investing in gold and different precious metals, commodities, bonds, mutual funds, different companies and stocks. They're investing. These people, it's kind of weird. I've talked to people who say, I get this from my company. I finally got we have this retirement fund. And then on the other hand, they'll turn around and say, oh, people who, shareholders, stockholders, they shouldn't allow that. That's greedy, that's corrupt. People who invest money in stocks and bonds are greedy and corrupt, right? People who invest in real estate and try to make money off people purchasing the real estate, off people living and renting in the real estate, that's corrupt. But that is exactly how they're getting money for their retirement years. Not everybody has that company who's doing that for them. Not everybody's comfortable with the company having experts. They want a little bit of control themselves, because there are a lot of companies that go out of business and then the 401k goes out with it. So some people like to hedge their bets. There's no free lunch. There's no guarantee even. No free lunch and no guarantee, even if you put a lot of time and effort in. So when you look at a person who owns a house that you're renting, you're looking at likely, you got to think of the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours that person's put in to save up for that house, to purchase it, the indulgences they've done that they put off to the side for a while, and the responsibilities that they're faced with now. It's not their fault. The majority of people who basically own rentals are that we in our community, there's two types. You got a guy who's a mom and pop. He's rented out his own house and having a son or daughter take care of it while they're going to old folks home. Or they maybe have 2, 3, 4 rentals. They may have or may not finally have come to fruition and been paid off. But the fact is, whatever they ask for, they can only get if the market will allow it. They don't ever ask. You can't gouge a person if you could get a house next door for less. It's just not going to work. And the fact of the matter is, even in a place where the vacancy rate is really low, you're still challenged to by so many other people, because the vacancy rate may be low, but you got other people who are still, the landlords are still competing with each other. Again, there's no easy solution. The only solution out of this mess that we have is to keep on top of our government. It's our government that is making it too expensive for landowners to put grandmother houses or apartments on their lots. It's government that's making it too expensive, to making rezoning and all this stuff just for the benefit, just the privilege to even start, $30,000 per lot, and it's criminal. Okay. Now, aside from that, we could all get together and help them purchase this real estate take it off the market and start pressuring government to lower expenses and allow the communities and different co-ops and syndications that people form to be able to build new properties. But never, never expect someone who's worked hard and slaved their whole life and are facing the same stressors that you are to do for you what you're unwilling to do for yourself. Thanks so much. Bye.